Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you all doing? It is April the 17th, 2025, 8 a.m. UK time. Live here on youtube.com/Reganelite and twitch.tv/Reganelite1. Good morning, Rosemary. Good morning, Mad Monk. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Leapskin. I think I got everyone that's here. Good morning that I see in the chat there, and good morning to anybody else who's lurking in the chat. Hope you guys are all doing well. But I think I've said this before, but I'm not actually a tea or coffee person, believe it or not, guys. That's actually true. I've never been really someone who's keen on hot drinks. But I guess now, my morning cuppa is honey and lemon every morning. I guess that's my drink now for the mornings. That I must. I think it must be the norm for me now, and maybe I should stick to it as a norm for from here on out. That means I must have a steady supply of honey and lemon coming in at home to keep me going. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do over the weekend, I suppose, because I'm not going to have honey and lemon with me unless I get some. Well, because I'm not going to be home for a few days, just a few days. Good morning, Stephen Banker. Hope you're doing well. Welcome, good morning, Reganelite. Today we're going to be looking at some of the news outside of the UK today. Although there is one or two that we'll talk about that is there is one connected to it. We kind of touched on anyway that we'll talk about. Like I said, there was one or two things from last night's show on the Snowflake Watch that we will connect to there as well. I do have some other outlets possibly we may look at as well here. But today, guys, the weather today is here in London is 8 degrees. I'm looking at the weather app now, so it's about 8 degrees here. Clear sunshine it seems I'm going to be having here. However, a bit later on during the day here, it's going to get a bit cloudy. But no signs from the weather app at all of rain potentially here. So 8 degrees, a little bit chilly. But it should warm up a bit later on. I went out on my bike not yesterday, on Tuesday, and I've been trying to get back onto the feel of being on a bike, guys. Because the first time I went back on the bike for a good while, I went almost 40 minutes and absolutely killed myself when I came back. On Tuesday, I did about 10-minute bike ride. So today I'm going to try and do another 10-minute bike ride today. I may push myself a little bit to see how I do, because even on Tuesday when I did my 10-minute one, I still had to collapse on my bed, which shows just how physically out of shape I am, guys. And that's not a lot of up and down hills, by the way, as well. Not a lot of uphill and downhill, so that's a lot of work that I need to do. Good evening, Steve McMorran, over in New Zealand, my friend. Hope you are doing well. Hope you had a wonderful Thursday where you are. Good morning, Alex Adam. I hope you are doing well there as well. So yeah, let me know what the temperatures and weather is like where you guys are. Generally curious. Lipskin said it's cold, damp, and miserable here in Coyton. Well, hopefully it'll clear up. I really hope it does. It's different everywhere. Weather there. Today's quota. I said it was going to be a bit of a curious one. Today's quota here. Today's one, the 17th of April, today's one is: rather than sitting and worrying, do something. Anything. Worrying is a waste of time. That quote was by Caffeine Pulsifer there. That is today's quote. There it is, and there. And what is the last one? Oh, tomorrow's quote is very fitting considering what I'm going to be doing over the weekend. So that one is going to be very interesting indeed. The gang is here, by the way. Don't worry, the gang is here. I just should show you the gang is here. They are all here as well, guys. They are all here. Appreciate everybody coming this morning here. So before we talk about some of the news, I'll talk a little bit about related to my bike, because one of the things actually because the same bike, as I said, it's a very old bike. I've had it for quite a long time, and I used to. So I used to live. My hometown was Elstree and Bournemouth in Hertfordshire. No, we don't have any family there now, but there was a lot of connections. A lot of family was there. It was where my grandparents grandparents lived pretty much, and we had lots of related family that used to live in the town, and it's changed so much since I last went there. It's changed so much. I don't recognise the place whenever I go there now. Like, a lot of shops, a lot of things are just not the same as they used to be. I'll tell you one thing that hasn't changed since I last went to Elstree and Bournemouth was in the town centre. Used to be, I think it's in the middle of the town centre, they had this little play area, a little play area right in the town centre village, and they had these wooden animals, and then they had these hippos, and they're still there, and they've been there pretty much ever since I was born. And I remember, like, with family, used to be playing on them even when we were little kids. And every Tuesday they would have I think they still do it, but every Tuesday they have a market along that town as well. And it was never considered for me just rough. There were certain parts of Bournemouth that are rough, but it was it's just not the same as it used to be. The town. It wasn't actually where I learnt to ride my bike, believe it or not. It was actually the place I actually learnt to ride my bike properly without stabilizers. Was Castleberry Park. If anybody knows where Castleberry Park is. Castleberry Park is in Watford, for reference. A beautiful, beautiful park. They have a beautiful canal that goes along that they have on there as well. It's one place that I think it was like a few years ago. I took my missus to Castleberry Park because she'd never been there. It's changed a little bit since then, but when we were younger, and I remember my parents used to help me without stabilizers, because I struggled without stabilizers until then, but I was able to. Sound breaking up. Is that is it just you, Rosemary, or is it Oh, that's not good. Could everybody else hear me okay? Or is that just Rosemary? Losing my train of thought now. Hold on, I'll wait for people to respond. Alistair Keir, good morning there. Hope you are doing well. Tropical cyclone Tom just blowing through. The wind was 60 mile an hour wind and waves to Steve McMorran. Guys, can you just let me know, am I breaking up or are we good? Because just wanted to make sure. Then it's not just me. Sound fine here, says Stephen Banker. Sound fine here, says Manpunk33. Sarah says you can hear me fine. It did for a second, but it's fine now, says Alistair Keir. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So maybe it did cut out a tiny little bit there. That's a bit concerning. Hopefully it was just a one-off. Hopefully. There. Let me just fix the chat there as well. Thank you, Stephen Moore, for the $2 New Zealand. Thank you for your support to the Democratic Penguins Republic. Much appreciated. Yeah, so for quite a while, when I was younger, I struggled obviously to cycle without stabilizers. And at Castleberry Park, they had some really good hills, and that was where I learnt to actually be able to ride my bike. And pretty much now, like, even though I haven't cycled for a while, like, I'm still trying to get back into the groove of it. Like, I mean, literally on Tuesday, I'm cycling and I'm doing it with one handle. Like, that's how confident I am now in comparison to when I was younger. Because I can, like, cycle because I've got a firm grip. I feel I'm in control. So And one of the things I used to do was because of where one of them was located, I actually used to cycle from where we lived to Elstree and Bournemouth Station, and I literally had helmet and I had a yellow vest, and I get on the train got off at West Hampstead Thameslink, and travelled from there to Kilburn, because Kilburn is where I used to work in a super drugstore in Kilburn for a couple of years there. So, and they had so much storage spaces that I was able to, because my bike is a fold-up bike, I was able to fold it up and store it away safely without leaving it outside, because bikes got stolen outside in Kilburn, because, yeah. And if I got told that I couldn't bring it in, I wouldn't even work. Like, that's how much I cared about my bike. That's how much I cared about it, guys. I'm crazy. Thank you, Alistair Kid, for the £2 super chat. Much appreciated. But yeah, it was quite an interesting. But the thing is, I didn't even need the bike to travel from West Hampstead Thameslink to Kilburn for where my job place was, because it was literally only 15-minute walk, and it's actually just 5 minutes on the bike. But I obviously took all the precautions necessary when I was riding the bike. Except one time I did a sin, one that I deeply regret, which you can hold me to account right here, guys. I cycled and nearly knocked over an old lady while she was crossing the road. I've still never forgiven myself for that, guys, because I was still going past, and I never bothered to stop and apologise. Shameful of me. Own up to my mistakes. So I don't know if she'll never hear the apology, but it was one of the mistakes. One silly thing. At least I didn't hit her. That's the most important thing, because that would have been much worse. That would have been much worse when it comes to bikes. But feel free to share some of your own bike stories in the comments below as well. I'd be very keen to hear some of your comments, guys. I'll wake up and maybe refresh the page. To Rosemary, you're saying, yeah, something. It might be that, but it might be sometimes my internet as well, possibly. There. I'm just going to listen to my eyes. I like Clarence the Lion. Oldest tech, the young one, says Alex Adam. It is early morning, so you're like half asleep and whatnot in the bed, and like, if it's okay. I mean, it's literally 8:10 our time here. So, right. So let's talk about some of the stories. Guys. There's quite a few. I've got a lot of websites out. I don't know if we'll go through all of them, but we'll take it and see how it goes. Remember, any super chats today goes towards the Democratic Penguins Republic funds as well. So, if you guys want to financially support the cause, you're more than welcome to do so, guys. There's no legal obligation to do so, guys. Honestly, there isn't any legal obligation to do so, but it does support me and does support this channel and the work that I do. So thank you if you do choose to do so. But don't feel pressured that you need to in any way, shape or form, guys. If you can't afford to, that's fine. Like, share, all the usual stuff. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Steve McMahon. Oh, there we go. Steve McMahon for another $2 New Zealand dollars. Very kind of you. Thank you both, you and Alistair, for your super chats this morning. Really greatly appreciate. Very kind of you guys. It's my nighttime joy of night shifts. That's Alex Adams. Yes, I remember the night shift days. Maybe I'll do a talk about that. Maybe I'll talk about my night shifts tomorrow. Talk about them. Right, let's talk a little bit about some of the news that's been some of the news that some of the media has been reporting. So first, I want to start off one from Al Jazeera. I think I mentioned a story about this, if not on Shorts, that maybe on Snowflake Corner as well, about what's been happening with Russia, obviously with the war in Ukraine, obviously intensifying. So what happened at the start of this month is that Russia started the largest military call-up. One of the largest military call-ups. I don't know if it's the largest one in their history. I don't know about that, but I think the Soviet Union's obviously a bit more, considering what they've gone through. But the headline from Al Jazeera is Russia's largest military call-up whips up fear among young men. Excuse me. With more than 100,000 Russian soldiers killed in the war against Ukraine. Oh, excuse me. Against Ukraine, Moscow is making life harder for draft dodgers. I should point out the Kiev Independent reported, actually, what did they say? The Kiev Independent. They've reported, the General Staff has reported that 937,440 troops have been lost in Ukraine. They report those figures every single day, but remember that is coming from the General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces. So that's what they report. So it's entirely possible that they may have already lost over 1 million lives, Russia, since this war began. We honestly don't know for certain. It's a case of whether you want to take their word for it. I do get comments of people saying that when the Kiev Independent reports some of these numbers, they're not true. Well, you know, I'm not on the ground. They're the ones who are in Ukraine. They're the ones who are reporting it. It's up to you whether you want to take it on board or not. But for young Russian men, for young men who are trying to live a life for themselves or just trying to stay out of this entirely, they're getting forced into this situation. It's very difficult, and they're doing everything they can to avoid the draft, avoid being called up to this, because these are young men who simply want to have lives. Though many of them who aren't political or maybe don't fully understand this war, or are being fed that it's necessary for this. You know, it's very, 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 very dark, very, very dark for them. It says here, it is the largest call-up since 2011, aiming to fulfill last year's presidential decree to boost the armed forces to 2.5 million military personnel. Some young men often try to avoid mandatory military service, but as Russia's war against Ukraine stands as critical a juncture, with the rival sides desperately attempting to appear triumphant amid peace talks, there's a particular urgency to the matter. There's a story about one Russian man there. Rights advocates have warned that the cracks, which one might have been able to slip through, are tightening, while being a conscript is increasingly risky. So one, as I said, a year ago there was an age amendment. There's now summons are issued to young people from 18 years old to 30 years old. Ivan Choskin, the spokesperson for the organisation Go By The Forest, which helps people escape the ranks, told Al Jazeera. Previously, the maximum age for conscription was 27, so now they're going even younger. Now the decision of the draft bond will not be valid till the end of the draft, but for a whole year. This means it won't be easy to run away by simply not showing up when you receive the summons. Another major change is that they're revising the list of illness of those eligible for military service. So it kind of goes back to the it does sadly go back to, you remember the Foil and Arms video of the conscription video they had, where the guy is literally saying everything he can to get out of conscription, and they're just like, we're taking you whether you like it or not. And that's exactly what this is. According to an open source tally compiled by the BBC and Independent, Russia outlet Mezazona, more than 100,000 Russian soldiers have been killed since 2022, a figure that frightens young men like Boldan. While conscripts are not technically supported to be deployed to the front lines, conscripts can be deployed in regions that border Ukraine, including the Balrog and Kursk region, and therefore can theoretically participate in combat operations in those regions. So they may not be going directly into the conflict, but it's directly into that war, but it's possible that they could potentially do so as well. Let me finish this guy, sorry. Nadmonk33, thank you for the £2 super chat, my friend. Thank you for all your support and the moderating, not just what you do here, but the moderating across many YouTubers you do. It is greatly appreciated. Me, All Shorts and so many, to Dave McGuinness's and the two Davies YouTube channel. For Comrade Pingu and his brothers, yes, indeed. There's actually a new video from the Democratic Penguins Republic, but you guys won't see it until tonight. So if you can join me for tonight's show, you'll get to see that video. Right, that's that cleared up there. Yeah, I just hope that this war comes to an end at some point, and there is some kind of peaceful peace. We need peace, yeah, for this, because yeah, too many young men's lives are being destroyed by this conflict, guys. It's a crying shame. And of course, we talk about Ukrainian civilians die every day because there's always an attack by them. I mean, one story from the Kiev Independent literally today: 3 people were killed, 30 injured in a Russian drone attack in Dynamo. Like, more innocent civilian lives are being lost there. Another story. This is an interesting one here from CNN. Ecuador would love to have U.S. forces helping in gang crackdown, the president said. So, we've been hearing a lot about President Trump wanting to crack down on the cartels in Mexico, and wanting to have U.S. forces basically there to go after them because the president feels that Mexico are not doing enough to deal with the cartels there. Well, here's the Ecuadorian president basically saying, well, why don't you come and bring us US forces? Well, they might actually technically be doing so, guys. So it says, according to them, that Ecuador has talked to the United States about receiving the support in its battle against criminal gangs. President Daniel Noboa said in an exclusive interview with CNN that he's first since winning Sunday's presidential election. There are plans, we've had conversations, we've had a plan, we've had options, and that we would like to follow. We just need another meeting post-election now as an elected president to consolidate it, he told CNN. Ecuador has been requesting foreign military support for months, saying that its fight against gang is a transnational war that requires the contribution of multiple countries. He said while his administration would love to have US forces in Ecuador, he insisted that they would not be out patrolling the streets. Instead, they would play a supportive role in Ecuador's security operations. We would like to cooperate with US forces, and I think there are many ways we can do that, especially in monitoring illegal operations that move out of Ecuador. But the control of operations will be in the hands of military and our police, he said. One of the things, I think it's fair to say a lot of South American countries do have a lot of gang problems. They do have a lot of gang violence. Venezuela is obviously under a really dangerous regime in Nicolas Maduro. Argentina, obviously, they're going through a massive transition, and the Argentinian people are suffering immensely due to Mendy's actions within that country. It literally is being put through a lab rat right now, Argentina. I can't speak too much on Chile and Peru, or Uruguay or Bolivia too much about, because I don't know too much about their current situations on their perspective. But I am aware, obviously, Venezuela, Ecuador have had, especially Mexico, have had gang issues. But obviously Ecuador has had hits as well. Whether or not the US will actually send forces, I don't know. But it doesn't, like, considering that they're going to be increasing the military budget anyway. If Ecuador provides them with money, because that's one thing that pleases Trump more than anything, is money. If they provide them with money, then I'm sure the President Trump would actually assist, because he always is enticed by money more than anything else, guys. It says here also that the US has carried out operations in that area from 1999 to 2009. It ran surveillance flights targeting drug routes in the Eastern Pacific and now defunded Mania Air Base. So they've had conversations before on that. So it wouldn't be something to be surprised if something more comes from that, you guys. So one story that we are fully aware of, and that is the constitutional crisis. We talked a bit about it last night. Before I actually talk a little bit about the article from AP News, I actually want to show you a clip. Yes, a morning clip. Yes, a morning clip, guys. This was 5 hours ago. So you guys, for those who were watching last night, obviously you guys heard about Senator Chris Van Holden. He was in El Salvador, trying to talk to officials in El Salvador, trying to see if he could get a meeting with the innocent man, try to get him out in some way, shape, or form, and just try to have some discussions and whatnot. This was the last video clip from him there. So I haven't watched this, but I wanted to hear what he had to say on the issues, guys.
I've had back-to-back meetings here in El Salvador with our team from the American Embassy, with the Vice President of El Salvador, with human rights groups. And the entire purpose has been to bring Abrego Garcia home, because U.S. courts have determined that he was illegally abducted from the United States and now finds himself in the most notorious prison in El Salvador. The Supreme Court, 9-0, has told the Trump administration they must facilitate his return home. They've refused to do it. So I called upon the government of El Salvador to do it unless they can provide evidence that he's been involved in MS-13. They said they had no evidence. So this is not about MS-13. I know President Trump wants to make this about gang violence. I have been fighting MS-13 probably longer than Donald Trump even knew about MS-13. I care about every victim of crime. That's why we have a court system to hold people accountable when they commit crimes, to make sure that they get the punishment they deserve. We also have a court system to make sure that people who have not committed crimes or not been convicted of crimes are not disappeared out of the United States and sent to a notorious prison in El Salvador, like Abrego Garcia. This is simply about letting him have his day in court. We use the courts to make sure that we don't convict people who are not guilty and that we convict those who are.
And he's right in that. So that was the last tweet from him on that matter. So something tells me he's probably not been able to get far with what he was there, which is a real shame. But I mean, he's speaking the truth, but we know a lot of people have been speaking the truth, but we know that this Trump administration doesn't care. They want to put him under a claim that he's an MS-13, that he's claimed as part of the gangs, and yet both the El Salvador government and the Trump administration claim they have evidence, claim that he is, but won't provide any evidence. It's the same shit with Israel, guys, and it's absolutely devastating. So the judge in this matter from the Association Press says that finds a cause to hold Trump administration in criminal contempt for violating the deportation order. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the Trump administration can find themselves in criminal contempt. So this is as we go towards that one, getting even closer to the constitutional crisis. So so James Bollesberg, who's basically been the key judgmental figure in his, said, so federal judge on Wednesday said he has found a plausible cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt of court and warned that he could seek prosecutors for violating his orders last month to turn around planes carrying deportees to an El Salvador prison. The ruling district judge, whose President Donald Trump said he should be impeached, marks a dramatic battle between judicial and executive branches of government over the president's powers to carry out key White House priorities. Bollesberg accused administration officials of rushing deportees out of the country under the Aliens and Aliens Act last month before he could challenge their removal in court, and then willfully disregard his order that planes already in the air should return to the United States. The judge said he could hold hearings and potentially refer to the matter for the prosecution if the administration does not act to remedy the violation. And if Trump, the Justice Department's leadership, declines to prosecute the matters, Bollesberg said he will appoint another attorney to do so. States, the Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders, especially by officials of a coordinated branch who have sworn an oath to uphold it, wrote Bollesberg, the Chief Justice of Washington's federal court. The administration said it would appeal. The president is 100% committed to ensuring that terrorists and criminal illegal aliens, argument there, the usual Alien Enemies Act and all that nonsense there. The case has become one of the most contentious amid a skew of legal battles that are being waged against a Republican administration and has put the White House on a collision course with the federal courts. It's pretty much already there. I think it's fair to say it's already there. Bollesberg wrote that the government's conduct betrayed a desire to outrun the equitable reach to the judiciary. The judge did not say which official or officials could be held in contempt, and he's giving the government until the 23rd of April to explain the steps it has taken to remedy the violation, or instead identify the individual or people who made the decision not to turn the planes around. I think I do recommend Glenn Kushner and his YouTube channel, because he has a very good understanding of, because he's got decades of experience within the judicial justice system. I do listen to him and Brian Tyler Cohen on their legal breakdown series that they do on Brian Tyler Cohen's channel. and I do recommend that. And he has a very good understanding, breaking down of the judicial system and things like that. Another person that might, I'm sure, will do a video at this at some point if they haven't already, will be Legal Eagle as well, on this as well. So I do recommend them on this, but it is if they're not already in a constitutional crisis, they pretty much are in this situation, because they don't the Trump administration doesn't want a U-turn on this. And the thing is, once they know they can get away with this, they'll be able to get away with more things. So it is gonna, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it tonight on a Snowflake on America as well. Thank you, Stephen Morn, for the $2 New Zealand. We have reached the target for today. Thank you guys so much for that. All your support goes towards supporting the Democratic Penguins Republic. So anyone who has done so, thank you so much. Really appreciate Stephen Morn, Mad Monk, and Alistair Kidd this morning. Greatly appreciate all your support, guys. Thank you very, very much. Another story that we talked about, I think it was yesterday or day before, quite a few we've talked about, was the conference in the London conference on Sudan. It's been described by Middle Eastern Eyes article here as a diplomatic flop, as the RSF declares a parallel government. The conference, in which excluded the Sudanese government, which we said, and major Sudanese civil society actors, ended in failure on Tuesday. Well, of course it did. Like, if you're excluding the Sudanese government and major Sudanese civil society actors, what did you expect? Like, you're not even going to have them within it. It said the hundreds of civilians been killed in recent days in the 2 refugee camps in North Darfur. Like we said, we talked a bit about Sudan last night as well. The London conference began on Tuesday amid widespread criticism over the UK government's decision not to invite Sudan's government, based in the army stronghold of Port Sudan, or members of the Sudanese civil society. The RSF, which have been sanctioned by the British government, were also not allowed to attend. So you didn't even allow attendees from either side of this conflict on this. So what was the point of this conflict, of this conference, if you're not even going to have them in there to have the discussion, is what we said. However, the British government extended invitations to countries accused of supporting the RSF, including the United Arab Emirates. Don't get that. Which have been accused of complicity in genocide at the International Court of Justice. Yeah, that really raises eyebrows for me about this. It just feels like it was the part of me feels like this conference was more like a PR stunt more than anything, than actually the intention to actually make a difference. Yeah, it's. I don't think there's any really more to add to that about the frustration of it all. Is just ridiculous, really, on that there, guys. Another interesting one from Euronews that's been happening in Europe. Digital tracking on encrypted platforms leads to drug smuggling busts, Europol has said. So there's been nearly 300 arrests across Europe and made extensive use of encrypted platforms to track criminal communications. Operation Bolut has been coordinated by Europol there. Authorities have dismantled 4 major criminal networks responsible for fueling the flow of drugs into the European Union and Turkey, arresting more than 230 people in a sting operation. The final 3 arrests were made in the Netherlands and Germany on Wednesday, bringing the trans-European operation to a close. Europol said the investigation took place across multiple jurisdictions and involved authorities in Belgium, France, Spain, the Netherlands, and Germany. What sets this operation apart is the extent in which law enforcement officers employ digital tracking with encrypted digital platforms to track down and arrest suspected drug smugglers. In an interview with Euronews, Andrew Krang, the head of Europol's European Serious and Organised Crime Centre, explained more about the operation there. He just says this is just in one of the questions his answers was, this is a prime example of strategy for tackling these criminal organisations. The strategy, as we call it, data-driven network strategy within these platforms. And for instance, as we collect large data sets, we conduct analysis so we can identify and we can locate and target the right criminals. And this is a prime example. This sends a strong message to organised crime groups that even the most resilient networks can be dismantled, specifically when we as law enforcement join forces. And it does work when multiple jurisdictions, multiple nations working together. It can help bring down crime, just by working together. You know, they would not be able to do this kind of action if it wasn't for the coordination of multiple nations on this matter. So, short one here. I'm just keeping an eye on the time here because I did have quite a lot written down here. The World Trade Organization said global trade could slide this year due to tariffs. I think that's a kind of a given, really, from African news. The declining trade will particularly steep in North America, even without the stiffest tariffs, the Global Trade Forum said on Wednesday. With exports there this year, it's expected to fall by 12.6% and imports by 9.6%. So many businesses are going to turn away from the US, obviously due to the tariff uncertainty, because it has been absolutely mad, and without businesses being thrown all over the place, all businesses all over the world have been thrown into chaos by the Trump administration. So it makes sense for them not to try to avoid doing any business with the US right now. Makes logical sense, really, there. The Kiev Independent, I mentioned this story already. 3 killed, 30 injured in Russian drone attack in Dynamo. This was yesterday. Russia has certified drone and missile attacks since war against Ukraine. Russia targeted Sumy in a deadly attack on April the 13th, killing at least 34 and leaving 117 people injured. European leaders condemned the Palm Sunday attack, describing it as appalling and heartbreaking. Yeah, we've mentioned that story already, but yeah, it's just another heartbreaking one. An interesting one from The Guardian before we go into the actual websites themselves is that France has expelled 12 Algerian officials as a row over alleged kidnapping escalates. This has been brewing for a while. I haven't really mentioned this one. So the move follows Algiers' expulsion of diplomats after France arrested a man linked of abduction of an influencer, Amir Dizeb. So I'll just read just briefly on it. For France has expelled 12 Algerian consulars and diplomatic officials and recalled its ambassador to Algiers, the French presidency said on Tuesday, in a retaliatory measure as a spat escalates between the two countries. The Algerian authorities are responsible for the sudden degradation of our bilateral relations, President Emmanuel Macron's office has said. Algiers have been protesting against France's detention of an Algerian consular agent suspected of involving in the kidnapping of an Algerian opposition activist. France later said that Algeria had expelled 12 of its diplomatic staff. France's relations with the former colony have long been complicated, but it took a turn for the worse late last year when Macron supported Morocco's position over that of Algeria when the dispute over the disputed Western Sahara region. Yeah, I mean, that's been going on for a very long time, that dispute between Morocco and Algeria over that. Last week, French Foreign Minister Jean Norbalic had said that his ties between the two countries were returning to normal. The activist influencer Amir Bosgos is a critic of the Algerian president and has more than 1 million subscribers on TikTok. He has lived in France since 2016. He was granted political asylum in 2023. Algeria has issued 9 international arrest warrants against him on accusations of fraud and terrorism, but France refuses to extradite him. So yeah, it looks like this is getting very complicated here. The relationship between the two countries is definitely flailing. I think it's fair to say there, guys. So let's have a look at some of the news. I am aware of the time, guys. Let me just make sure I get back to some of the front pages here for you guys. Where is the... There we go. Boop. Right. So first and foremost, Al Jazeera here. This is what they've got here. So front page there. They always sadly have live updates of this, and it's absolutely horrible to read. Israel kills dozens in the latest Gaza attack as over 500,000 forcibly displaced. We talked about that already a number of times about what's happening in Gaza. Absolutely horrible situation there. They have an explainer of why has Israel imprisoned 10,000 Palestinians. There isn't. Why? Because they can, and nobody's telling them otherwise. As Trump threatens tariffs, Vietnam scrambles to avert economic disaster. Yeah, Vietnam, like China, many of those countries are facing pain from the Trump administration over these tariffs. I think there's been a slap over 200% increase in tariff now from the US to China, which is like just stop already. It's not helping anyone. Top UK barrister: Israel is carrying out destruction of humanity. It's destruction of humanity in Gaza. That's the top UK barrister there. US envoy said fighting in Gaza would end immediately if captives were released. I don't buy that for a second. China said it will pay no attention to Trump's tariff number games. Nope, and it shouldn't do. It's just stick to its own plan. US judge says probable cause to hold the Trump administration in contempt. We've mentioned that already. Let's see what else they've got there. Some of the why Bangladesh renamed the New Year's parade set off a controversy. Battle over Hezbollah's disarmament intensifies. And can Trump legally deport US citizens to El Salvador prisons? No, under the Constitution is the answer, but we know that they're not going to keep to that. So those are some of the stories from Al Jazeera there. Let's go to CNN here. This is what they have under the World tab. 4 Russian journalists linked to the late Kremlin critic Navalny's sentence at Moscow's court there. Ecuador would love to have US forces. We spoke about that already. Maldives bans Israeli passport holders in protest against Gaza war. I've done a short video on that, dropping at some point. If not today, yesterday. Peru's former First Lady flees to Brazil for asylum after she and the ex-president Hamala are sentenced to prison. Palestinian Islamic Jihad releases first ever video of Israeli hostages Rom Brazaski. And up to 400,000 displaced from the Darfur camp after Sudan's RSF takeover, UN agency has said. Israel's proposed Gaza ceasefire to release 10 hostages for hundreds of Palestinians, Hamas said. I think we mentioned that on Tuesday, that story there. Let's just see what the front page of CNN is saying here. White House escalates attacks on Harvard. One of the things they're looking threatening to strip the college eligibility to host international students unless it turns over disciplinary records. This is them pushing down even further. I did say that they are going to have to buckle at some point, Harvard, because it's not just the funding that's going to get taken away from them, but they're going to stop getting students. They're going to hold them up, them getting any kind of foreign students here. They're looking at any and every single way that they can make life a living hell for this university. They do not want anybody in America protesting for Palestinian people. Like I said, it's only going to get worse, I'm afraid. What else they've got there? Hong Kong suspends postal service. I think I've got that in a short video. Federal chair Powell gives stark warning of yet another potential economic consequences from the tariffs. Nvidia caught in the US-China trade war takes $5.5 billion hit. Stock slide as Powell warns of impact on tariffs there. Not important, George Clooney. China says its new bridge will cut communities from 2 hours to 1 minute. Oh, they got. What is this new bridge? Oh, blimey. Sorry about the... let's see if I can just... There we go. An aerial view of the construction site of the Hunjale Grand Canyon Bridge. This was in January, apparently. Wow. That is one hell of a piece of architect there. That is pretty impressive. It will measure 2,051 feet above river level, which is 947 feet taller than the current bridge title holder Millennium Vadal in France. China has a nationwide to improve infrastructure, especially in relative underpowered mountain areas like Guntur, which is 800 miles west of the city of Shenzhen. This bridge isn't about breaking a record. Once in operation, it'll be easier even for cars and trucks to traverse the area, according to state media. It will reduce travel time over Hunjale Grand Canyon from just 2 hours to just 1 minute. The bridge is a steel truss suspension bridge with a total length of 9,482 feet. Construction officials started on January the 18th, 2022, so it's been going for several years and expected to be completed June the 30th, 2025, Gulsall State Media has said. Although these trusses weighed about 22,000 tons, the equivalent of 3 Eiffel Towers. Present the overall progress of the bridge has reached 95%. It's planned to be open to traffic in the second half of 2025. By then, this super project that spans the Earth's spans the earthquake will be the world's first in both directions. It's become another landmark project in the demonstration of China's infrastructure strengths, Zhang added. Fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating. It's incredible. It's incredible to see some of these infrastructures that you see out there, guys. The Association Press here, what they've got here. Trump fined administration. We talked about that already for violating deportation court orders. Other things they've got there just relating to it. Senator Van Pelt met with El Salvador Vice President. Yep, we saw the video on that. Attorney General Pam Bondi said Kilmar Boda Garcia is not coming back to our country. Don't know about that, considering he's innocent. Unless he's killed, of course. Which we hope that does not happen. Family says ICE agents smashed a car window and seizing Guantanamo man who is seeking asylum. Yeah, I saw the video of this. I don't want to share the video of this. This was incredibly scary. That was incredibly scary. Like they were desperate to get to this man in a car. Very horrible. It's very terrifying. China founded e-commerce site Temu and Shen, saying they're raising prices due to tariffs. Xi says China will stand with Southeast Asian countries in the face of economic shock. Italy's Mendy will test her medal as EU-US bridge when she meets Trump in Washington. Trump's tariffs could be tough to crack for a German nutcracker may focus on the US. There. 62 Taiwanese military members failed in Chinese residency permits. How war, money, and the quest for discover in which the US government and universities there. Why Israel's expanding its frontiers into Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria? Because they want to, and they don't care about the consequences. Proposed rule change on endangered species triggers alarm for environmentalists, and why Elon Musk installed his top lieutenants at a federal agency you probably haven't heard of. Like anything, it's influence. That's what it is. Really there. Yeah, there's the footage there. Obviously, I'm not going to play it because it's pretty horrible, horrifying. Oh yeah, this is another story I didn't cover yesterday as well. Protesters tased by police at Marjorie Taylor Greene's town hall. Yeah, well, she did a town hall meeting, and one of the protesters basically got tasered. It was shocking, and I don't mean in the sense of like he was just protesting, and they literally they didn't actually show the footage because of the where he was standing. There was a bit of wall in the way when he actually got tasered, but you could hear him being tasered. You could hear him being put down, and it was just. You know what was the worst thing was? There was some people actually clapping that the person got tasered. There were some people actually clapping. Like, that just shows how insane some of those people in Georgia are for support of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Absolutely disgusting. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. Just unbelievable, some people. It really, really is. Middle Eastern Eye website, guys. They mainly do, they are like specifically, obviously, Middle East, but they do go sometimes out of that as well, just for reference here. So I'll just show. It's not often that I will go to Middle Eastern Eye because it's most Hezbollah is at crossroads of Lebanon's pushes for arms monopoly. It says even if Israel's Gaza plans fail, they will have left behind a 21st century blueprint for ethnic cleansing. An opinion piece there. Arrest warrant sought for Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar on a visit to the UK. He just looked on. Bernie's faced backlash after free Palestinian flag removed at the rally. So, yeah, Palestine flag was removed at a rally at the Fight Oligarchy rally, apparently, for Bernie Sanders and AOC's rally, apparently. The Fight Oligarchy, like... Yeah, I don't approve of them taking that flag away. So I don't approve of them taking that flag away. Social media users fume after free Palestine flag removed at Bernie Sanders rally. Many have lashed out at the veteran senator for looking for looking on as banner was removed and protesters ejected from the venue. This is taken after. So, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders faces a deluge of criticism after social media posts. Yep. Over 12,500 people was there in Fort Idaho on Monday night, where Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez urged attendees to rise above political divisions and resist what they call increasing influence on billionaires over American politics. But at the Idaho leg of the tour, Sanders faced fierce backlash for not reacting to the police treatment of the protesters during and after the rally. Some anti-genocide protests unfurled a free Palestinian flag behind Bernie Sanders' rally, and now when police thugs arrest them as Bernie Sanders looked on and let it happen without saying a word. A minute earlier, Sanders said Israel has a right to defend itself. Yeah, I don't like that. That's not good at all. Don't like that at all. I might cover that a bit more in detail tonight. I think that might be worth talking about a bit more tonight. That's very concerning. Some other stuff. They do some UK stuff here as well. UK politician slams Lamy over secret meeting with Israeli foreign minister. UK police accused of having been heavy-handed at protests against BBC's coverage on Gaza. Yeah, because BBC aren't being very well there. US side inaccurate tabloid accounts in its case against Mohammed Khalid documents show. US lobby Turkey and Israel to hold military deconfrontation talks on Syria. Tunisia using arbitrary arrests to silence a dissidents, reports finds there. Let's have how long we got? 9 minutes. Let's have a look at the New York Times. IRS is said to be considering whether to revoke Harvard's tax exempt status. Oh dear. President Trump forced institutions to choose, cut a deal or fight back. Trump waves off Israeli strike after divisions emerged in his administration. Israel's developed plans for attacking Iranian nuclear facilities would have required US assistance, but some in the president's administration had doubts, apparently. Iran says shifting US message on nuclear talks are not helpful. Yeah, don't blame that. Europe seeking a direct line to Trump, skeptical that aides will speak to him. Well, we know. I think we saw in one. I think Max had it on his live stream on Tuesday. That any EU officials now have to carry burner phones going to America. I literally said that last night as well. Do not go to America unless you have a burner phone. Like, clear your data, basically. Any criticism of Trump, you will not be welcome there. China wants countries to unite against Trump, but is it met with awareness? Stocks fall as Fed chair sees tariff challenges and tech pulls back. Will Americans eat $100 tariff on Shen packages? Probably some will, some may not. South Korea hopes shipbuilding will give it an edge in trade talks. Say goodbye to your kids' imaginary friends there. I've never been more afraid of my country's future. That's an opinion piece there. Yeah, that's not a good sign. Astronomers detect a possible signature of life on a distant planet. K2-18b, which orbits a star 120 light years away, is inhabited or even habitable. We honestly don't know that. Yeah, we're still a long way off from that kind of technology, guys. Judge challenged over White House call a disregard for court orders. Spoke about that already. A Colombian activist sought middle ground on Gaza. The US detained him. Mother of woman killed by immigrants speaks at a White House briefing. Trump names interim U.S. attorney for Manhattan, bypassing Chuck Schumer. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Let's have a look at what Euronews is saying. Melodies in Washington test for EU's role in Europe. I don't know how that's going to go. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting, that's for sure. US, especially because of how Trump treats women, specifically. U.S. judge says Trump's administration likely acted in contempt of court. Yes, I know Melody is. I know she and her party is right wing, but we know how Trump feels about women, guys. Let's be clear. French cinema finally examines slavery and its colonial chapters. Europe's defense sector bets on space amid glowing geopolitical threat. Is Melody the new special EU envoy for tariffs? Don't know about that. Glaciers in Sweden and Norway are melting fast. That's very concerning. US-Iran talks to be held in Rome following confusion over location there. RFK Jr.'s appointment empowers Europe anti-vaxxers, researchers say. No, it does. It does. Don't even need to click that one. At least 50 dead after boat catches fire in the Democratic Republic of Congo, officials say. Yeah, there have been a lot of boats that have... A lot of lives, sadly, have been lost from people in boats in Congo. Because obviously they're trying to get away from the war. It's absolutely heartbreaking when you hear those stories. Is Sweden gripping fighters jets the answer to Europe's F-35 fears there as well? So some of the stories there from Euronews. Got about 5 minutes left, guys, before the morning brew. Why are you like that? Come like that. Not covering the full picture. 1 second, guys. Do I really have to do this now while I'm live? This is very annoying. Apparently I've got to do this while I'm live. Very annoying. Okay, African news here. At least 300 people killed during the post-election violence in Mozambique. African trade wind shifts and tariff reforms and business tensions from Business Africa. That's a feature. The EU moves to fast-track asylum claims by migrants from 7 countries to speed, apparently. Senegal MPs propose high treason charges against the former president Macky Sall. I've got that in a short video. If it's not dropping today, it dropped yesterday for you guys. Rapid support leaders announce a rival government in Sudan. Already mentioned the World Trade Organization story from the website. Gabonese international Ariane Bosia dies in China. WHO members, countries drowned, loudmouth preparations treaty for the next pandemic. Just seeing if there's any other stories here on the right hand side. They have a little feature here on the right here. South Africa's new US envoy calls Trump's racist, homophobic and narcissist. South Africa's new US envoy. A US passenger abducted in South Africa has been rescued after a police shootout. Wow. That must have been frightening, my God. Well, at least it's been rescued. That's good news there. That is good news, at least there, guys. Let's wrap up with the Kiev Independent. A couple of minutes early today, guys. Let me come back to the front page. Can we go back to the front page? Yes, we can. Trump's DC attorney picked to made over 150 appearances on Kremlin propaganda outlets. Top Kiev official reportedly charged over illegal border scheme they have there. Top Ukrainian officials arrive in Paris for talks with European US officials today. 3 killed, 30 injured in a Russian drone attack, which I mentioned already. Ukraine seeks US support in regaining control of Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant joint energy projects. Top Ukrainian official arrives in Paris, we already said. Putin praises Musk as visionary, likens him to Soviet-era space icon. Why don't you just give him your satellites already, for God's sake? Yeah, give him your Starlink satellites already. EU fails to agree on sanctions on Russia, LGN, Reuters have reported. UK to support Germany sending TARDIS missiles to Ukraine, Telegraph reports. As I say, that's the report from the general staff every day, 937,000. They've got the report there. We talked about that one already. EU warns Serbia not to attend Russia's victory parade. Yeah, Serbia not in a very good spot, as you guys know. Not in a very good spot there. Anything else? A free Azal Powell sentence up to 24 years in occupied territory there. So there's some of the stories we've got there, guys. But we have reached literally on the verge of 9 o'clock here. Let me know what you guys thought of some of the news that we looked at today. I will be back tonight at 8 p.m. with a Snowflakes on America. We'll be covering news from America specifically there. Some of it will be stuff we may have already talked about, but I think that one there about the Bernie Sanders one, I think is one probably worth trying to dig a bit more into that as well. Morning Brew will be starting with Graham Hughes on Politics Social any moment. He's normally 1 or 2 minutes after 9, but if you want to, I will be lurking there, but if you want to join me there. Also at 10:30 will be Dave McGuinness with the paper reviews from youtube.com/the two Davies, so do check that out there. And they will have a show the two Davies will have a show at 4 p.m. today as well. Do check that out as well. Like I said, I'll be back later on at 8 p.m. guys. So just before we go, thank you Mad Monk, Steve McMahon and Alistair Keir for your super chats, for your support for the Democratic Penguins Republic. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for all your comments and for being here. I really appreciate it. Tomorrow's morning, there'll be one more morning brews tomorrow. There won't be any on the weekend because of plans that I have. And there won't be one on Monday either, which I will explain to you guys tomorrow. So do join me tomorrow for the final Good Morning with me on the 18th of April. So whatever you guys' plans are, if you're not hanging out on other live streams, whatever your plans are, whether it's working, whether it's relaxing, whatever it is, take care, look after yourselves. It's lovely weather here. Hopefully it'll be lovely weather where you are. Enjoy the rest of your days, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon. And hit that like button on your way out, guys. It'd be greatly appreciated.